Hello and welcome back to another Stonksy video. Today we're going to be looking at how you identify altcoin trading opportunities in the market, looking at relative strength, weakness, and those in ideal positions to be taking a trade on them. And we're going to also be looking at the best place to take a trade on that. So if you haven't already, do make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and make sure you click that first link in the description to sign up to BloFin. That is going to be the exchange we're covering today and explaining why it is the best place to trade altcoins on. So make sure you've done them 3 things before you watch the rest of the video, and let's get into it. So as you can see on the screen at the moment, we've got Solana pulled up. Now why are we looking at Solana? Well, if we look at the 4-hour chart, which we're looking at the moment, you can see it's come into a high time frame SR zone. So what does that mean? It's a point of support and resistance from previous price action. As we can see here, resistance, 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 flip to support, and then so far so good. We've had a confirmed retest of support and it's held. Then if we look to the upside, you can see another area of resistance, resistance, then a bit of choppiness on the price, dip back below, and then held support, support, and then fell through again. And then there's another line to the upside as well, which can be considered strong SR as well for Solana. So at the moment, it's got one key zone to the downside, which is retested and held so far, and then 2 obstacles to climb in order to reach towards the all-time high on it. Now, also, why are we looking at Solana? Well, at the moment in time, Solana's had a bit of, you could say FUD, you could say concerns around it regarding token unlocks that are coming in the next couple of weeks. And also the fact that it's being used to have a lot of pump and dumps on it at the moment as well. So the sentiment around Solana is that, is it a crime chain? Is it this? Is it that? But what you want to do with them is sometimes, you know, when things are in peak FUD, you take that with a big pinch of salt and you can look at the chart, you blank all the noise out, blank all the sentiment out, and just see what is the chart showing you. And if we look at the chart, obviously if you had this zone plotted out right here on the screen leading into obviously this free fall that we had down from $200, you would have got yourself a nice little entry there and blanked out all the noise around token unlocks, whether it's a crime chain, etc, etc. So what would we be looking at here? Well, in terms of price action, we would want to see Solana trade back up to this level for an underside retest. From there, it would either reclaim and then potentially push back towards 220, or maybe we reject and then tail off a bit more, maybe back down towards the middle, the mid-range of this separation in price between 2 key SR zones, or potentially, if we get overall market weakness in Bitcoin again, potentially another retest of there. So the possibilities, anything could happen. Obviously, we follow price action and then look at the key levels and determine what could happen from there based upon that. But at the moment, what can we say on Solana? Well, we've had a key retest here. It's held so far, got a decent sized bounce. And then what do we want to do next? We want to see the reaction when it gets back up towards 190. So another is SUI. So as you can see on the screen at the moment, we're looking at SUI. Now, SUI is obviously one that's had extreme relative strength over, you know, the past 6 months or so, rallying all the way down from the 50-cent range up towards above $5. So a comfortable 10x there for SUI in the past 6 months or so. However, obviously the momentum in price has tailed off a lot and it's had a considerable retrace. But if we look at the SUI chart again, as you can see, all you had to do was go on, plot some high time frame lines, as you can see here, resistance, resistance again, and then breakthrough. And it didn't get a retest on this. So if you notice on here, we've had resistance, resistance, breakout, but then we never got a back test on it to test it for support. But as you can see, when we got this flash crash down here on Bitcoin that took the rest of the market down with it a few weeks ago, it did come down and test it pretty much exactly on the nose and then got a considerable bounce from that. So again, that's another one to look out for, is high time frame levels that haven't had a back test. And potentially, you know, you could leave some stink bids on them. But if we look at SUI again, we can see, obviously, it's held. We had support down here, and then we obviously fell through it here, but then recovered it. We tested it again near here, and then most recently here. So at the moment, that 292 level on SUI is quite key. Now, what can we record from that? Well, we can say, at the moment here, obviously, it came down, came up here. Now, this was support, flipped it to resistance, came down, retested it again here, came back up, and then found resistance at the same point. So at the moment on SUI, this range is quite key to the price. Now, the price could stay here for a while. It could potentially break one side to the other. But what can we say? Well, we can say at the moment, unless price breaks out, this is a potential buying opportunity, and this is a potential selling opportunity when it comes into here. So how do you actually trade that? Well, when the price interacts here, you literally, if you want to, you can long from this level, and you can short from this level. Obviously, have your invalidation from a break below or break above. And then it's as easy as that, really. Treat this as a range. Now, what could we see from SUI in terms of a breakout? Well, this is obviously where you want to look at potentially some high time frame trades. Obviously, if we break below here, the likelihood is it will come down, fill this wick in here, and then retest this again for support. And then we'll obviously have to see the reaction from there if and when that happens. To the upside, obviously, we'd want to recapture this level and then look to trade upwards. Probably the first stop being along this level here, that 420, 422 level, and then potentially looking higher after that. But it's all about having a plan, having your high time frame charts mapped out, looking at the key levels, because as we know in crypto, things can come very thick and fast. And as we see with Solana, if I just load that back up again as an example, if you had your high time frame levels plotted out here, while this move was very quick down, a 20% downside move from $200, you would have been prepared to potentially bid that zone and treat it as an SR test until proven otherwise. And you can do that with SUI. Obviously, we've identified that as well. We've got the one to the downside already leveled out, and obviously being prepared for potentially retest of this upward zone as well. So that's just two examples. Obviously, Solana and SUI, two of the best performers of the market over the past 6 months, year and a half. Superb strength on them both. But then obviously you want to take the chart and you want to put it into action. So how do you do that? Well, let's cover that next. So as you can see on the screen right now, we've got BloFin loaded up. Now, if you haven't signed up to BloFin, like I mentioned at the start of the video, do make sure you click that first link in the description, sign up. It's non-KYC. You just need an email to sign up and it takes under a minute. There will also be a video linked throughout the video and at the end screen for a full BloFin setup tutorial. So do make sure you check that out if you want to walk through on how to actually get yourself set up, the best things to do when you first create an account, and then obviously loading up your account with funds. But obviously we're at the main screen, so if we go on futures, we'll select that. And then if we go down, obviously this is where you select them all. Now, BloFin's got a massive range of altcoins to trade from. They're adding new coins every single week. But if we go through, you can either look down, obviously this is all of them, or you can just search. So we'll type in Sol, and then you can pull up Sol there. And remember, BloFin is non-KYC, so you don't need to give them your ID. You don't need to give them any sort of personal information. You just sign up with an email, load funds in there, and then you're good to go. So obviously we've got Sol here. As you can see, it's as easy as that. What you would then do is you would choose cross-isolated leverage. You'd choose the amount of leverage you want to use, how much margin, and then you would place the trade. Now, if you do want a full trade walkthrough, that video will also be linked at the end screen. That will be covering Bitcoin, but you simply use that and then transfer it over to any altcoin that you want to trade. Now, if we look at SUI now, and you would just do the exact same for SUI. You would come on, you would choose your leverage, choose the amount of margin you want in the account, and then you would, potentially if you want to put your stop loss and take profit in before you open the trade, but you can also manage that afterwards as well. And that is all covered in that Bitcoin trade tutorial that I mentioned just then. So that is SUI and Solana covered. Obviously, they are two large caps in crypto, but we don't just have to look at them. While we're on BloFin, if you want to trade some memes, some low caps, as you can see, you can flick through and you'll see the vast variety of altcoins that there is to trade on BloFin. But they also have some headings here. So you've got meme, GameFi, AI, infrastructure deepin, NFT, and so on and so on. So for instance, memes, if you wanted to trade memes, obviously they've got a mixture between the large legacy ones, the new ones that have come up this cycle, or even, low cap ones are not as large and obviously a lot more volatile as well. GameFi, AI, like I mentioned then, and also if you click through, you've got other ones as well. Layer 1s, Layer 2s, etc. So BloFin is the best place to trade all this. Make sure you do click that link in the description to sign up if you haven't already. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you do want to see more of this type of content, do make sure you click the subscribe button and do make sure you drop a like before you go.